So Tetris has long been one of my favourite puzzle games, but back in the day I also played a hell of a lot of Columns, a somewhat less popular puzzle title which can kind of be seen as the forefather of all modern match-free puzzle games. Today on the channel though, we're taking a look at Papertris, a game which takes influence from Columns but expands on the original formula, adding additional dimensions into the mix, as well as spicing things up a little with a variety of different special blocks. So drop a like, subscribe if you enjoy my content and want to see more, and let's check it out. So despite its name, Papertris has very little in common with Tetris and is more like a combination of Columns and Super Puzzle Fighter, two of my favourite puzzle games of all time. And the game has a couple of different single player and two player versus mode on offer. The single player mode consists of a challenge mode which, as the title suggests, tasks players with completing various challenges which generally involve destroying a specific number of blocks within a time limit, blocks of a certain colour or those marked with an X symbol, while endless mode is exactly that, endless, with players attempting to earn as high a score as possible which are then posted to the online leaderboards. Similar to classic Columns though, games in Papertris see a trio of blocks falling steadily downwards from the top of the play area, with you able to direct them with the thumbstick or D-pad and switch the colour configuration with the X or B buttons, though you're unable to rotate them to change their orientation, and the objective is simple. Create connections of 3 or more similarly coloured blocks to destroy them and earn some points. Where the game differs though is in the fact that firstly, you're not limited to creating matches in horizontal, vertical or diagonal rows and they only need to be touching each other, and secondly that the play area is actually 3-dimensional, and when blocks eventually are stacked above the red line, they're then pushed backwards, clearing up the play area. In doing so though, they don't actually become dormant, and you're able to create matches with these background blocks with the pieces in the foreground, and this mechanic is further expanded on by the fact that when you reach certain score thresholds, you'll then gain additional background rows, and so players have the choice here of either using them as additional lives when they become overwhelmed, or alternatively utilising them to create bigger chains and further increase the score. Now the 3D play area is not the only unique mechanic in this one, as there are also special blocks thrown into the mix, in the form of mystery blocks which only resolve themselves once they land, or those which randomise the colours of all blocks in a column, others which explode destroying entire rows or columns, and one which slaps a strip of paper over the play area, obscuring your view. And overall these make for some nice variety, giving you some strategical options to switch out unwanted colours or cut down your block count a little, but they can also be a burden at times, especially when you're trying to build up a combo only to have it broken by a bomb. Now while Tetris and Columns are both known to become brutally difficult the longer you play them, comparatively both of the single player game modes feel a lot more casual, with the game's challenge mode becoming a little bit trickier in terms of its objectives but maintaining a slow block fall speed, an endless mode adding in new colour variants for you to deal with, but again never really putting a strain on your reaction speed and giving you plenty of options to mitigate errors with. And while this relatively tame difficulty factor may make Papertris a little less appealing to veterans of the genre, it definitely makes for a more accessible puzzle experience and one which more casual and younger audiences will be able to fully appreciate. This though feeds into the 2-player versus mode experience, as you don't need to be ridiculously good at the game to enjoy its competitive side and be able to put up a decent fight against your opponent, and in total there are 3 different versus modes on offer. The first being a Super Puzzle Fighter-esque like experience where creating matches causes countdown blocks to fall into your opponent's play area, with the winner obviously being whoever survives the onslaught, and then there are 2 score-based modes, one being endless and the other time-based. And while unfortunately I wasn't able to experience these modes properly due to there being no online functionality or even an option to play against an AI opponent, they'll no doubt make for an enjoyable 2-player local experience. Overall though, Papertris is a fun little tile matching puzzler which draws influence from the classics, but also puts its own spin on things and, excuse the pun, adds an additional layer of depth to gameplay with some great use of its 3D puzzle mechanics. It's simple, easy to pick up and play, and offers a reasonable amount of replayability for those seeking to reach the top of the online leaderboards. And while admittedly it is a little lacking in the challenge department, it makes for a great casual puzzle experience and one which can be enjoyed by players of all ages and skill levels. So the developers have opted for a very simple hand-drawn art style with Papertris, which they mentioned was co-designed by themselves and the kids, and this definitely adds a layer of charm to the visuals, but it isn't the most striking when compared to its mainstream influences. The blocks themselves coming up to 12 different colours, which whilst adding to the challenge can also be pretty frustrating due to colour clashes making it somewhat difficult to distinguish between different colours. But there are some accessibility options which cater for colourblind players, which adds icons to blocks, and also providing a dark mode option. When it comes to the audio, the sound effects are again relatively simplistic, and they definitely lack that satisfying punchiness to them, especially when destroying blocks. But the game's soundtrack definitely makes up for this with some really catchy tunes to play along to, so all in all, they've done a decent job with the audio and visuals in this one. So when all's said and done, Papertris is by no means the most original puzzle game on the market, but it certainly tries to build on established formulas and in my mind does so successfully, with the 3D gameplay mechanics adding in some really interesting dynamics. These lower levels of difficulty are definitely a double-edged sword though, and veterans of the genre will no doubt find it to be a little too slow, especially in terms of its gameplay pace, but this also opens it up for a wider, less hardcore audience to enjoy, and I feel like this was the intent all along, to provide a nice casual puzzle experience which isn't overly taxing on the player, and one which would serve well as an easy to grasp time filler title, which also offers some decent local multiplayer options. Overall though, a really fun little puzzler, and so when it comes down to my own personal rating, I'm going to be giving Papertris 3 out of 5 stars. If you're a fan of tile matching puzzle games and, like me, enjoyed a bit of columns back in the day, then Papertris is well worth giving a go, especially considering its very reasonable asking price. With that said though, are you in the market for a new puzzle experience and will you be picking this one up? As always, let me know down in the comments section below, drop a like if this review helped you out, and consider subscribing to the channel for more Nintendo Switch reviews and content. But for now, I just want to thank you all once again for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves and game on.